So you've had the Popeye's chicken sandwich?
Yeah, I've had the Popeye's chicken sandwich. I'm pretty sure it actually caused COVID because this is the timeline. Sandwich comes out like late 2020, right?
Yeah.
Sandwich comes out. There's insane demand. Basically, we can't keep up with the amount of people wanting this Popeye's chicken sandwich. Correct. Popeyes at this point, they're losing relevancy. People don't like them that much. I personally think they're better than KFC, but they both kind of aren't that great in my opinion.
No, I think Popeyes is infinitely better than KFC. Like, I could have a whole conversation.
I agree with that, but I also think that Popeyes is not that great of a chain. But anyway,
I think it's good.
Spicy chicken sandwich brings them back to light. However, they cannot meet the supply-demand issue there, so they get desperate. They want to become relevant mainstream success like McDonald's. They go into like weird experimental factory farming. All of a sudden in the chicken lab, it's kind of like the Squidbillies situation. Oh my god, this is sounding like I'm saying it's coming from a lab. No, okay,
no, we can't propagate this because people will actually think it's real.
What's good, man? It's your boy Juicy J, man. Shout out to Virtual Homework Podcast.
Hello, everyone. We want to start today on a more serious note and address the recent controversy surrounding the Virtual Homework Podcast.
Serious allegations here.
As we all know, Dana, well, probably not, honestly, because it was very quickly deleted. As we all know, Dana was dunked on hard by a Twitter mob for his opinion on something unrelated to the podcast. And while it was a perfectly reasonable opinion, it was presented in a Twitter thread that did not agree with him. So, of course, naturally, they resorted to personal attacks, and they called our podcast shitty and that no one listens to it.
They also called me a nerd and told me I should read a book. And it was like...
Yeah, the idea that playing video games invalidates your opinion, like, what, is this the 90s? Like, are they, like, do they not realize this is, like, the most popular medium? Like, people's moms play video games, and they vote, so... Hey, political opinions can be had.
When I replied to this thing, there was like 200 likes on this thing, and then when I went back to it, I had 60 replies to me, and this thing had 10k likes or something ridiculous. I was like, oh god, I'm deleting this.
Yeah, he wanted to save the reputation of this podcast, but the cool thing about being a fledgling podcast is that we don't actually have a reputation. So reputation needed to be
I didn't want to
saved.
have a bad reputation.
Sometimes bad publicity is good publicity, especially when the bad publicity is not even okay, someone was talking about whether or not you should vote at all, and he's like, if you don't vote, then that helps the other party, and then they're like, no, and then they just insulted the podcast. Well, let's not be vague about it so they don't think that you're tweeting about something extremely terrible and I'm saying it's no big deal.
No, they were basically don't vote for, I'm not voting for this party. I'm like, well, you not voting is voting for the other party. And they're like, oh, you fucking idiot piece of shit. It's just okay.
Yeah, and so we want to get that out of the way because how dare they? You know what? We hate them so much. We're going full anti-SJW. That's right.
Oh, man.
No, this is honestly kind of bad timing considering the background of this game. What game did we play this week?
We played Cyberpunk finally.
Yeah, okay, so we heard the feedback. We heard the feedback from last time, learned that we did not actually play the Cyberpunk that's been in the news. Sorry about that.
So we're hoping to get it right the second time.
That was bad research on our part. So we learned that Cyberpunk had a lot of partial nudity, actually full nudity, and also that it was an incredibly buggy mess. So we looked for the Cyberpunk that fit that criteria. We think we have it right this time. We think we have this right. We are playing Sense, a Cyberpunk Ghost Story. I played it on the Nintendo Switch. It was originally for PC.
I also played it on Switch. Yeah, it kind of goes into what you were saying about SJWs and whole everything else surrounding the game. There's actually quite a bit of controversy, which we may have brought up in a previous episode.
Yeah, I think I literally mentioned this on one sentence of an episode in December because there was a bunch of news about this game being controversial. And of course, at the time I was also searching to play Cyberpunk because it's in the news. Yeah. So yeah, we are playing Cyberpunk this week, but it really was brought to our attention because the publisher for this game, not the developers, had to release a statement basically saying, despite the countless death threats we've been gotten, despite the people telling us to censor our game and take it off the Nintendo Switch store, we are not going to bow under pressure. We are going to release the game with no censorship. and the world rejoiced. And by that, I mean, if you look at all of the Steam reviews for this game, it's like, fuck SJWs, fuck censorship, and like played with 0.3 hours, played 0.5 hours.
If you look at the reviews, it's like overwhelmingly positive, but then if you look at most recently reviews, it says like mixed. Because basically everyone who's played this game basically has given it like meh or bad reviews. For those who don't know, the controversy is basically like the people in this game are either basically fully naked for no reason, or like have breasts so large, I feel like it would physically cause them like bodily harm for having that large of
have you ever
breasts.
I mean, back in the day, I feel like this is a reference that's going to make me seem like I watched some questionable anime, but if you watched anime in the early 2000s, you'd probably be familiar with it. Have you seen Icon or heard of Icon?
No.
Well, look that up after the podcast and you'll probably understand where I'm coming from with that comparison.
I'm a man, you know, I enjoy some breasts every once in a while, but like this is like, have you seen like the cops in this? Like some of the characters in this, like the breasts are like literally like 6 to 7 times larger than their head. Like it is absolutely like obscene. Like
yeah,
I'm not going to cancel a company over it, but
I will say, yeah, it was a little uncomfortable, but at least they were equal. There was a lot of sack on that male police officer, if I could chime in. So
okay, I didn't look at that.
You didn't look
really?
Come on. Yeah, no, yeah, they're hypersexualizing both characters. So to be honest, like I actually learned as part of the cyberpunk genre, because we talked about hypersexualization in the last Cyberpunk game we played, and Cyberpunk 2077, which is apparently another Cyberpunk game that exists. That also has a lot of hypersexualization. It's actually a theme of the genre. So part of becoming cyberpunk and going to the future is like this hyper-consumerism, hypersexualization of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So it actually fits the theme. One last thing though, so this game had that controversy regarding censorship because like one of the actual arguments was against the Switch port, being that the Switch is the Nintendo aka family system, but Dead or Alive beach volleyball's on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah,
like
so that's not a good argument. Like I don't like those kind of arguments. I just personally don't. I'm not a fan of this kind of stuff. And like he said, if you look at the reviews, it's pretty much people being like, I only bought this game because these guys are giving a FU to SJWs online. Like, fuck them. And I'm going to buy 3 copies of the game and I'm not even going to play it. And it's just like, okay.
No, but the thing is, like, I actually wanted to dig deeper into this, and I totally think that this was a manufactured outrage. I looked into it. I looked into, like, people actually trying to send these people death threats, and I'm not trying to diminish death threats here, but
no, it's
a lot of me and a lot of
terrible.
other people actually, like, it could have been sent to, like, email or something, not in a public setting, but there really weren't that many people outraged about this game. I think that they actually use this as a marketing tactic because we're going to spoil it here. I thought this was a very mediocre experience.
I think this game is straight up bad.
Okay. I think I would go as far to say it's mediocre, but I'll admit I have not beaten it. But I know that the developer probably wouldn't have sold that many copies of this game, except for the people who are like really horny.
Well, this game has 9 out of 10 reviews on Steam with like, it's like overwhelmingly positive, but like we said, almost everyone hasn't played the game. They only bought it to like stick it to like manufactured outrage. Because there's actually not a lot of information.
Yeah, there's really not a lot of information, you're right. And I think it was honestly just a genius marketing campaign from the
Well, just in general, there's not a lot of information about this game. Like trying to find like walkthroughs, information, videos, like there's like next to no information about this game. There's like no Reddit for it. Like there's like actually nothing.
There's a guide on the Steam page, but besides that, this game was founded from a Kickstarter, and I feel like most of the information on the Kickstarter is where you can find stuff. And like all of that is just like, yeah, if you pay for our game, we'll actually also send you like a titty mouse pad with the main character on it too. So that's how the game works. So let's talk about what this game is.
So basically this game is it says it's cyberpunk. That there's very little to do with cyberpunk in this game other than the first like 2 minutes and last 4 minutes of the game. Otherwise, cyberpunk has absolutely nothing to do with this game, and it doesn't really, like, I wouldn't call this a cyberpunk game unless you want the ghosts. There's ghosts in this game. They have like digital effects around them. I guess that's cyberpunky. I don't know.
Self-described, this game is a
survival horror.
Yeah, this is a survival horror game inspired by Clock Tower. So it's a 2D game where you're just walking around dodging ghosts, finding out what happened in your situation. So you are going on a date with or first date with your potential girlfriend. You ask to use the bathroom at the most shameless bar I've ever seen in a video game. You walk in and it's like literally boob on one half of the screen, boob on the other half of the screen, and it's transparent so you can walk through it, of course.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I was embarrassed to have this game on my like Switch homepage. I'm gonna probably take it off after this. I'm like, I can't look at this and just, like,
It's whatever.
not have shame. But yeah, you're going to try to find your date. You go to the bathroom, all of a sudden you see like some weird thing, and then bam, you're stuck in this like tower, I guess. It's like an apartment complex.
It's like an apartment complex, yeah. I don't know how you got into it or something like that. Apparently, it's been boarded up like since like the 80s. Mind you, this is like almost 100 years later in like 2090.
Or yeah, 2084.
2084, something like that. And somehow you got in there. It doesn't really explain how it happens. And basically, you're trying to get out. And by doing so, you have to kind of find out the mystery of the apartment building, which demons and monsters and spirits have been let loose, and you need to free them from their, I guess, earthly chains and let them go back to the underworld,
nether realm. I don't know, the afterworld. They don't really explain it. In fact, a lot of the stuff doesn't really seem explained.
No.
But I mean, so even though it's not Cyberpunk, it's a survival horror game that takes place in an abandoned warehouse for the most part. There's 7 floors. I assume that the game ends at 7 floors. I personally got to the 4th floor. How far did you get in this game?
I beat the game. I literally beat it 2 minutes before we fucking started recording. So
all right, well, congratulations. I feel like you have not beaten a lot of these games on the podcast. Of all the games to beat, you beat
because
Mega Titty.
As soon as we talked about this game on last podcast, I bought it that night and I played it like every day basically.
Okay, congratulations on being a functional member of this 2-party team.
Dude, I'm here for you.
Yeah, even though it wasn't a Cyberpunk aesthetic, I actually thought it excelled a decent amount. Like, I have a lot of qualms with this game, but one of the qualms I did not have was the art. And no, I'm not talking about the main character's body frame. I'm just saying, like, the actual backgrounds, I thought it was pretty atmospheric.
I disagree strongly. I think this game plays and looks like a fucking Flash game from 2007.
Okay, I mean, I like some, okay. I'm not going to say it looks perfect, but I thought it captured the atmosphere it was trying to go for well.
Yeah, of course. It looks like a hallway that's dark with a fucking dinginess, you know?
I thought it was funny, though, that considering this game relies so much on sexuality, like 90% of this game is dark. Like, you can't even get the flashlight to turn on properly, like, half the time. And it's just like, I'm standing in a dark room without any idea of what to do.
So for those who don't know, the basic gameplay elements consist of you getting to a floor, and your object is to get to the next floor, whether you're taking a fire escape, maybe you're finding a special key that allows the elevator to work, or you're breaking down a door. And by doing that, basically you go through like the different apartment buildings, which you go into it and you spam A as many times as you can to kind of like inspect the different like rooms, the different items, the different like shelves to find things that you can bring to other rooms, and do the same thing there. It's basically you go left and right for 12 hours and just spam A in darkened rooms.
It's almost like a point and click adventure game. It's like, honestly, like, you ever play a putt-putt goes to the zoo?
Yeah, it plays very much like something like that.
Except you can't actually freely move your mouse. You have to walk over to something, and this game has terrible controls. This is another case of double tap to run and not double tapping to walk. I know there's like a way you hold down the R button and you were able to do that.
I didn't figure that out until like I was on like the 6th floor, by the way, so it was fucking awful. Oof. The controls suck. Yeah, I think it's just due to the port. I think it's just a really bad port.
Yeah, we'll go into like a little bit more of the issues there, but I honestly feel like out of all the things in your game, like, if the movement by itself is terrible, assuming it's a game that has movement at all, that is like where I have no sympathy. Like, this is literally the most basic element of the game. If it's frustrating to even go from point A to point B, why should I think that you actually tried to make this game controllable? The actual walk cycle for this game is so terrible, and it has the worst sound possible. It's like this weird
the
creak
animations
that echoes.
look terrible. The animations look like they're done by a high schooler. You know, they're choppy, amateurish. Like, every animation looks like it's fucking 12 FPS. I don't know if that's...
So I didn't, when I meant graphics, I didn't mean animations. I thought like some of the still frame, like drawing.
Yeah. That kind of stuff looks really good, but like the animations animations look straight up amateur. Like it's for people like I don't get me. I've played Clock Tower. I've played Fatal Frame. Those games are beautiful. Those games are fantastic, fully realized animated 3D games. For a 2D game to like the animations look this fucking bad, that's embarrassing.
The characters move basically like you ever see those like paper puppets in like the mall from like the 90s where like
like that.
Each character is like jointed. That's that's basically how these characters move. I think there was a strong art background on this team, but like the actual like animation department's terrible because like all the cutscenes are just basically comic style, frame by frame, and they show like a frame for like 10
seconds. The character goes,
oh
no.
Yeah, that's like the extent of the voice acting.
That's like the extent of the dialogue. This game is basically a glorified fetch quest. Like if you've ever done
100%.
If you've basically ever done that part in like Ocarina of Time where you're getting the big Goron sword, we have to like bring one item here, one item there to get this item, to bring it to somewhere else, to open this door over. That's basically what this game is.
I have this in my notes that it's like extremely linear. Like you basically go from one point. It's like, oh, I got this. Now I could go back to this, and then you go back to that. There's occasionally sometimes where you have to backtrack, and like that could be like a little fun or really frustrating.
This entire game is nothing but backtracking. The last half of the game is literally like 10 minutes somewhere. Okay, it's like, so you'll get to a room, right? And it'll say like, oh, look at this back scratcher. This could extend the reach of something. And you're like, all right, well,
I found the backtracker.
I'm going to need that later. So then like you go somewhere and it's like, oh, if I had something to extend the length, it's like, all right, well, I have to go back and get the back scratcher. So 10 minutes.
And there's no transport. Back. No transportation.
So you have to walk through with like zero, like, gameplay. Mind you, the load times in this game are fucking awful. Like each load screen is like 12 seconds and you're seeing
you're on a Switch Lite, so I think it was probably worse for you. The load times in this game for me were pretty short, like they were 1 to 2 seconds, but the amount of loads was so frequent that it really took you out of the game. Like,
oh, absolutely.
It's just like every 3 seconds it's another load, and even when it's 1 second, it adds up. It also gives you time to feel shame versus like what you're seeing on the screen, and then you see like a reflection
I found
of your
myself
face.
like picking up my phone to do stuff on load screens because it takes so long. So it's like. So then it's like, all right, so then I have to go get it, and then like, it's 10 minutes back to get the back scratcher, then it's like 10 minutes back to go there or something like that. And it's like, why can't I just grab it like originally? It was just so frustrating.
Yeah, so that, I guess, is a problem with the port. I mean, it makes sense. This game is definitely not optimized, especially when I think that the biggest jarring thing for me is the frame rate drops. And honestly,
really bad.
there are long periods of time. There are long periods of time where you actually don't get any frame rate drops, but like then they get really bad, and then you're going to like 5 FPS. And like the funny thing is, one of these times is in the very beginning of the game. So like when I was playing this game, I'm like, oh god, did I pick a straight up broken, unplayable mess? And it gets better, but not much better about like 10 minutes into the game.
No, they're just like later in the game, there are fully like very large rooms with like 3D aspects, so you have to like go upstairs and stuff like that. They're borderline unplayable, especially when you have enemies. This game does have combat in it, and the combat consists of. This is what makes me think it feels like a Flash game. If you've ever played like Adventure Quest or anything horrible like that, like a Flash game, it's basically the combat from that. You like run up to something into X, while a character's like, like it is like I wish you could see like my expressions and how I'm moving and stuff like that. Like the combat is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen in every game ever.
Hey, you still beat the game. Honestly, I mean, if you're spending $20 on a game, you probably want to try to get
not worth $20.
Yeah, 100%. Considering the game from last week, I think was 15, and that's definitely I actually probably had equal amount of fun with that game and this game, but the last game was definitely a lot more polished. I would not feel as bad spending $15 on it. I mean, yeah. I feel like at least having combat's better than running away from everything, which is 90% of the other enemy interactions.
You have to run away still. It's like you can only combat. I think there's 2 enemies in the game you can ever combat.
Okay, and also the fact that it's a one-hit KO. Luckily, you're able to pretty much save wherever. Like, it has this weird saving mechanic where they obviously wanted you to use these save points, but they also just add in the ability to quick save, and I'm just like, I'm never doing this other one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they had, like, if you've ever played Resident Evil, they have, like, the ribbon system with, like, the typewriters where you have to be, like, it makes a sense of, like, oh, man, I really am gonna have time in between areas where I can actually save, so I gotta be careful, I gotta save, and, stuff like that. This has that, but you, like I said, you can just hit start and just quick save at any point, which you need to do because, like, if you just press A on the wrong item while you're searching things, it just instantly kill you sometimes. It's like, all right, cool. Oh wait, I didn't save. Okay, I have to play another 30 minutes. Like,
yeah, I saved constantly because of that. I the first time I lost progress, I'm like, yep, I'm not doing this again. I'm already spending way too much time on this game. Yeah. I was honestly though. This is exactly what I expected from the game. I will say
I expected so much more just because it had like such good reviews and stuff like that. And I do like survival horror. It's probably one of my favorite genres. If you don't know this about me, I love being scared in like a fictional sense. This just fucking. It wasn't even that scary.
I got scared like once legitimately, but then never again. I mean, like I don't know. I was surprised about that. I'm like, wow, I actually got scared by this game.
Yeah, there's like the one part where like the little girl, like her face is like coming out the door and then the door closes. That kind of spooked me out a little bit.
There's
like,
this area where you go in a hole and then like you're in this like crawl space, and I wasn't expecting something, and then something came.
Yeah. That kind of spooked me a little bit. But literally every experience with a ghost or enemy for the rest of the game is basically that. So you're just like whatever.
Yeah, you're used to it, or you walk really slow because you know it could happen at any moment.
Yeah, so like we were talking about like the UI and like how the movement and stuff was fucking awful. It's because of the port. Like with the PC version, you can move your mouse around to click things.
Oh, okay. Because you have to like literally be like within like a 2-pixel range of something sometimes to actually be able to interact with it.
So the worst part is like, let's say an enemy is like attacking you and you need to like run away. So it's like, first off, so the enemy is on top of you, so you can inspect the enemy, but then you need to cycle through your 3 options to leave the door, click on the fucking shelf that you can't do anything with, or talk to the enemy. So it's like you're sitting there getting hit, losing your extra lives while you're trying to cycle through these fucking options all at the same time. It takes like 4 seconds to like leave the room, and then you have to do it again in the next. It's awful. Like this game is not meant to be played on console. Like it was straight up unfun. Like in my opinion.
All right, I mean, like if we're just dunking on this game hard, because I think it does deserve a decent dunking. Like I feel like I could judge a game a lot by its menu system, and I don't mean like just straight. This game had a clunky menu system where like there were a lot of unnecessary menus, but like the game itself like has a really bad looking, like it looks like the menu is kind of like made in like paint, like it was like kind of an afterthought, and like that kind of exudes like a feel of unprofessionality. And considering this Kickstarter campaign raised many tens of thousands of dollars, I was a little bit surprised about that.
This game just feels very amateurish. I guess that's like the best way to put it. Like it just from a team that previously made like these games that I hold dear, and anyone that likes the survival horror genre. It just fucking sucks. Like I can't believe it has so many good reviews. And like I said,
well,
I
it's
think
just because the anti-SJW thing.
Yeah. Like these are like I actually have some like the reviews here. Are quite funny. It's like, I'm one of the many who picked up the game due to the pearl clutchers hating on games that have attractive female characters. I didn't get far before writing this, but I could see there's quality in this game and I could recommend it for those who like horror. And it's like, that person has like 30 minutes played.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, if you're gonna buy a game just on morals, then you're probably not the best person to ask about.
Something I did actually like is it's has a lot of Chinese I don't want to say like lore, but like, you know, spirits and like spirituality and stuff like that actually does interest me to some degree.
A significant portion of this team was actually a Cantonese, so that makes sense. That like I actually, so I don't speak Cantonese, I speak Mandarin, but it seemed like they actually did know what they were talking about. And also I could tell from like the actual voice recordings that they inserted in this game and what they showed on the screen, it was actually what they call kanji. I mean, like the traditional Chinese characters as well as like actual Chinese voice clips. So also, I was happy about that, and I was happy they had like one anti-Mao reference. It's like this picture looks creepy, and it's like a picture of Mao, and it's like they didn't know who that was.
There's also like straight up puzzles that you need to know Chinese to like do, and it's like I don't know Chinese, so I just kind of had to brute force it. I don't know if that was like meant to be in the game, because there are significant errors in this game as far as like there's straight up it's like a random wall, and it's just like, want to go up the stairs? I'm like, there's no stairs here. Like things like that.
I think that was an issue with the port, because like there was one section on like the 3rd floor where like there's this massive orange line that just comes off, and I'm like, is that a graphical glitch? I think there are a couple graphical glitches. Really, this is a terrible port. Anything else in this game that you like besides that?
Well, it's just interesting, like the Chinese background and stuff like that. There are some points in the game with like the ending that like I was looking at research, people like, what the fuck is this ending at all whatsoever? Makes no sense. Apparently, if you understand like the life and death in Chinese culture, it makes a lot more sense. But I think this is something that'll be lost to American audiences.
I don't think I'm gonna beat this game. I'm about halfway done from the looks of it, and I will probably just look up the ending because I'm curious. Like that's the thing. Like, sure, it says something when you aren't interested enough to complete a game, but like the fact that I'm invested at all in the story shows that they did at least one thing a little bit right. I will definitely say, if you're gonna buy this game, because I guess you're that horny, buy the PC port.
Absolutely, don't ever play the Switch port.
Buy a subscription to a hentai website. I don't know. You don't have to play this game.
Just watch Interspecies reviewers and be done with it.
I have no idea what that is, and I hope that it's okay to say.
Maybe.
All right, there we go. So
I give this game a fucking eat my asshole out of 10.
that is, I would give this game honestly a 5 out of 10. And I think I gave the last game a 5 out of 10 because I was able to find some enjoyment out of it, even though it was overall a frustrating mess. The whole fact that this is an actual video game to me, while the previous game was basically just a wall of text, puts them about the same. I understand visual novel is a type of game. It's just not my type of game.
I put that game like double as good as this at least.
Okay. I just don't like visual novels, I think. And I don't like this type of game either, but I like them eons more than visual novels.
This is another game I just really wanted to enjoy because like my biggest problem with is the animation and stuff like that is fucking awful. The physical visuals do look pretty good and the character models look cool. The enemies look cool and stuff like that, like the sprite work and everything like that. They obviously put work in. It just everything about this game just screams amateurish.
They definitely put a lot of work into the main character's sprite. The drawer must have went overtime making parts of that. Especially, like, first of all, they also have like 95 costumes, like a billion costumes that you could put on this person.
Yeah, that's all. Like a lot of that stuff's unlocked in like New Game Plus and New Game Plus Plus, and then there's like this secret objective where you can look for like hidden ghosts that you just run around spamming A. That apparently you get something for doing it. There's like a bunch of like secret shit in this game that probably end up don't doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, like that's honestly, like, I personally love when games have that, but I have to be into the game in the first place to like actually find it worth. Like, and a good example of this, like Katamari. I love the Katamari series, and like there's a lot of like collectible shit that has no impact on the game, but it's just like fun to get. And if I was like the biggest Sense a Cyberpunk Ghost Story fanboy, maybe I would. But I personally think that's a fun thing to give to fans. I don't see many fans of this game that aren't fans for one specific
game. Literally
two
has
specific
nothing
reasons.
to do with Cyberpunk.
Hey, it's got Cyberpunk in the name, and it's pretty broken, so it's basically Cyberpunk. I mean, on that, play any other games this week?
I might be playing MapleStory again.
Oh, yeah, you gotta get that, like, what was that? I remember, like, when the private server for that one, WoW Classic, basically before WoW Classic, there was a private server, and, like, 1 billion people logged on to have, like, a goodbye party.
Well, so basically what's happening with MapleStory right now, it's actually, like, in, like, the national news in Korea. It's, like, a huge thing. They're basically getting sued, all this other stuff. They actually found out that there's systems in-game that are of, like, quote-unquote random chance to like roll good items, stuff like that, are completely 100% rigged.
So what's that mean? Like, if you don't play, it's kind of like an arcade game like Stacker, where if there aren't like 400 credits in the machine, they won't actually give you a prize or something like that?
Well, so it's like there are certain items in the game that you can use to roll better stats on certain items. And basically what they were doing is that the original people to first do them when those items came out had a higher chance to get the good stats on them. Then as time they went on, they lowered the chance of getting the good stats. So like the new people could never have a chance. They would have to spend more and more and more. And this apparently went against like Korean like gambling laws and stuff like that, and they got sued. Basically,
anecdotal, but like I remember, like I came back to the game after taking a multi-month break, and I tried to cube some item that had like a 5% chance of breaking. Cubing was like a process where you made the stats better with like a very small chance of
yeah.
That's like I remember I got like 3 5% chances in a row, being like, "What the fuck?" Like, and I was actually so pissed. That was like one of the reasons I quit MapleStory forever. But hey.
So like to go further in this and stuff like that, it got to the point where like there's in these games there's called whales, which are the people who spend like $10,000 a month on this game or more. People who spend so much money to like get to like the top spot. Basically, MapleStory was top 3 games in Korea for fucking a decade, and because of this, the people have lost so much faith in the game, with them basically lying about like the stats and stuff like this, and to the point where the game has dropped to like I think below top 10. This was on like national news. Like this is a huge deal. They lost like millions in revenue over like people leaving to Lost Ark. It is quite a big deal, and I don't think the game is ever going to be the same. And what people are scared about is that the English servers are going to be shutting down, possibly due to lack of revenue, because the English servers already aren't doing well.
Yeah, didn't they like merge like all the different worlds into one
Yeah.
because they didn't have a population to support like 12 or whatever.
Yeah, it was like 12 servers. Now there's like 4. So it's like, and people don't even play those. People play on like the classic quote unquote server Reboot. So it's just interesting how like games that we shit on over the years just get worse and worse, and like they're actually getting their due comeuppance. But I'm gonna be playing it because there's an event next week that's like one in every 3 years.
Yeah,
and I
that's
need
the
to
thing.
do it.
That's the thing. MapleStory is the cockroach of the MMO industry, okay? I feel like MapleStory is at a fall from grace every year for like the past 20 years, and yet there still is a community for the game. So I don't know. I feel like in 2090, people are going to be whacking each other with tunas on Cartoon Network saying play MapleStory. Like you're going back to it even with the controversy.
Yeah,
So what's that
well,
say?
it's mostly because the event, and they're having like insane compensation for it. So it's more like I'll probably play for like a week or two to like get this, because I might as well, because I already am invested in the game, and I come back every couple of years. And it's like if it shuts down, sure. If not, maybe I'll have it for later instead of not, you know?
Might go the way of MapleStory too. Who knows? I personally have been playing a shit ton of Picross. Remember I was talking about that last week?
Yeah.
I addicted fully. I got like I've had to like cycle through like 8 mobile apps for Picross. It's like Sudoku apps, but like so many of them have that like model where it's like you need enough credits to unlock the next level. I'm like, go fucking die in a hole, you stupid ass video game. And then it's like I have to find the next one that is slightly better in monetization. I finally found one that's good, and I've been
There's
playing
like a good
so
app for
much
it.
goddamn Picross. They're also called nonograms. And yeah, shout outs to Picross. Thank you, Mario, for introducing me to this fun puzzle mode.
I mean, there's just so many things I think are apt to having like an app version. I'm not sure if you ever played like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. They had the Chow system where you basically raised like a little cute little thing.
AKA the
that-
entire reason why people look at that game fondly. Because that
That's not
game was
true.
actually pretty... so I enjoyed the game personally, but like... I feel like one of the reasons why I like the game, despite so many parts of it being bad, was going back to Chow Racing. And yes, there were many extremely fun, legitimately fun levels. But like you had like the Knuckles fetch quests, which were terrible. The time
I
bomb
like
with Rogue.
those.
I
So
like those initially,
So
but
here's
they
the
got
thing.
boring.
That game has so unbelievable amount of flaws. I have still fantastic memories of this game. I can pick that game up and have a lot of fun because I know how to work around them. But I can understand why people don't like it. That's like completely like nostalgia blinding me for liking that game. They just need to make the Chow Garden and put that on a cell phone app. Make $1 million.
I don't know how much Sega has actually embraced the app space. Like I Nintendo tried it, and I feel like they kind of gave up after like they.
No, they had some good games on there actually. Like the Super Mario one was really good, and then the Mario Kart one was really good.
They were good, but they kind of stopped making them because of the back. Like they were like trying to charge like like $10, which is like extremely cheap for a Nintendo game. They were trying to charge $10 for Mario Run, and people were so unbelievably pissed. It's like, what, would you rather this be free with ads? Like, come on.
Yeah.
But no, that they kind of felt burned by that, and I feel like they significantly decreased their stake in mobile. But I don't know how much Sega or any other Japanese developer has gone into that. So like back on Sonic Adventure 2, like I feel like I was able to recognize how flawed the game was when the game was released, but I still had a lot of fun. Versus Sonic Adventure 1, I legitimately thought was like the most innovative, best game ever, and both are incredible. They have not aged well at all.
Oh, no. I could still have, if I were to pick up either game right now, I would still have a lot of fun with them, I think. And
Yeah,
I
I
think
would too.
anybody that played like a lot of those games would feel the same way.
Otherwise, it's
but
gonna be
yeah.
like Game Grumps who like they neither of them played it when it came out. Like, this is the worst video game ever, and it's like,
Oh,
I don't know.
absolutely.
Did you see like this game got like a 90 on Metacritic? Like, maybe people liked it, but hey,
It's like
that's
people
just
who
how
play
it be.
Kingdom Hearts now. It's like they feel the same way. Like this game is literally press A, but it's like I have very fond memories of those games. So
I definitely like played Simple and Clean on my MP3 player, and like I was thinking like, this song gets me. This song understands me. I'm like,
it's like I just took a
"When you
shower."
Walk away. Yeah, it's. I had some middle school angst, definitely. This was like way
Speaking
after
of-
Kingdom Hearts came out.
Speaking of angsty video games, I know this was something that was from last week. The Call of Duty series, Activision is kind of fucking it up. I don't know if anyone's ever played Warzone, but like some of these games are so big that you actually cannot put them on your like PlayStation hard drives. It's like they're saying like if you have a Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and Warzone, they won't fit on a 500 gigabyte PS4. Like,
Yo,
just
bring
won't
on the
fit.
Stadia. Bring it on.
Dude, fuck the Stadia. Literally, I mean, I guess that'd be like a good.
It'd be a good use case because like 236 or however many gigs it had. That's not like. I mean, sure, a 250 gig SSD is like relatively cheap, but like one SSD per game is like, it starts going up.
Oh, I
lot
had
in how much
Warzone on
memory.
I had Warzone on my computer because I played it for a little bit. It was like 100 gigs. I had to delete it because I only have a terabyte hard drive, and it's like 100 gigs for a game that's fucking obscene. Like I already have World of Warcraft with all my add-ons, like 70 gigs, but like to 100, then if I get like that's just for one game mode. If I get any other game modes, that's another 100. Like that's obscene.
Yeah, the closest thing I have on my PC is the Master Chief Collection, but even that, it's like 30 gigs, 20 to 30 gigs a game, which, I mean, those are full games, so I can't really complain too much. Still very big, but I understand. I mean, game assets, like, if you want better graphics, it's going to take up more room. That's how it be.
In other news, something that I thought was actually really fucking interesting. I'm not sure if you saw the Paper Mario speedrun changes. I think we've talked about it in the past. The Zelda Ocarina of Time arbitrary code execution, which basically you can rearrange shit in the game by doing certain movements, picking up certain items, overwriting them to different slots through certain inputs to just automatically teleport to like the back of the game. So basically what people are doing is they're starting up Paper Mario, they're saving the data to, my understanding is the jump pack, and then turning off the game, putting in the Ocarina of Time cart, doing that arbitrary code execution shit, and then putting back in Paper Mario, and then teleporting to like the last part of the game. It's actually like, it's obscene. That's how broken Ocarina of Time is. It's literally the most broken game ever.
It's so broken it's breaking other games. This is like something that I know has happened before. Like, there are a lot of games, but okay, this is different though, because I've seen it happen on games that have multiple cartridges. So like, it's different. Like, it's not this game in particular, but the one that comes to mind is like, there's like the Mario and Duck Hunt cart. And there's been instances, not specifically this game, I can't think of the one offhand, but like you're doing Duck Hunt and you like glitch into Mario, which is like on the same cartridge. This is a situation where literally it's an entirely different game. It's not like on a multi-cart. Like, that's crazy to me, and I don't think I've ever seen that in another game. The Nintendo 64 has some good-ass speedruns. It's too bad I'm not a huge fan of the console, but one day maybe I'll be a fan.
I do very much so enjoy watching a wide variety of speedruns, whether it's like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, or like some of the best game is basically Super Mario 64. The control is just so hard to get used to, and I played a lot of I played a lot of Nintendo 64 in my day. I'm not used to it now, so it's like the control just feels so weird.
My issue is that like Nintendo first-party controllers break very easily, and third-party Nintendo 64 controllers are the absolute worst controllers on the planet. Like,
they're actually
unbearable.
garbage.
Yeah, for some reason, all of them have like it's either like a joystick that like literally doesn't go back to center, it just like drops with gravity, or it like is so stiff it's like unusable. I actually have a Hori and I don't have an N64 because I was gonna get like an RGB modded one and that fell through. I think that, I don't know, I feel like I'll be sticking to watching N64 runs. Paper Mario, the one we're talking about, is one of my favorite runs of all time, specifically the all cards route. That's really fun. TTYD 100% is my favorite speed run of all time. I don't know if I could still say that because I think I was just really enjoying one person speedrunning it, but they no longer stream, and I'm not getting into that.
To go back into Thousand Year Door, I was actually talking about that with a friend of mine, and we were both like, "Holy shit! Like Thousand Year Door is like a goat. Like that's like I think one of the best games like ever made. The game is so fucking good."
I agree, and like I kind of know the answer, but like I look back on that and I question to myself, why is it so good? Like there are so many RPGs with like the same level of charm, and like the gameplay is not honestly that different than a lot of those. Like I wonder how much being a Mario game has to do with it. I love that game though. That's literally my favorite game for the console.
Well, when we start getting into conversations about like how good and underrated the GameCube is and was at the time, like they're like the first party titles on GameCube are like unreal, you know, like Rogue Squadron, you have Pikmin, you have like the Metroid Prime series, you know, you have all like the RPGs, you know, the original Luigi's Mansion. Like there's just so many fucking good games in that system.
Did you say Wind Waker? I didn't hear Wind Waker.
Let me tell you about Wind Waker. That game, you put that game on a fucking like HD screen today, and that game still looks fucking gorgeous. I think,
for some reason they made it in HD as well for
which
the
also
Wii U.
looks good, but the original still looks good. Which I think GameCube is one of the best aged systems from that.
I agree
era.
with that. N64 is probably the worst aged.
Oh, absolutely. It looks like fucking dog shit. Do you have like a favorite GameCube game other than Thousand Year Door?
I think it goes Thousand Year Door, Wind Waker, and then it's kind of up for grabs. I would have to go through a list, which I can do, but maybe another time. I actually also owned Wind Waker HD, but I was like broke ass college kid, and like I was playing my Wii U on a CRT, and I'm like, oh shit, new Wind Waker release because I love Wind Waker, and I'm like, wait. Did I really just buy Wind Waker HD to play it on a CRT, and then I immediately returned it because I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Wind Waker is my favorite Zelda for sure, though. I think
I'm pretty sure I'm not a Zelda fan. It's the only Zelda I've ever made it like more than 2 hours into. Like,
you haven't played
I beat it. I've played Ocarina of Time, couldn't get past the Great Deku Tree, which is like the first dungeon. I played Majora's Mask, couldn't get past the first 72-hour cycle, and like it's not like being stuck, it's like just not being into it and then never coming back to it.
I played all those games when I was like 7 years old, so it was like I was in a different time frame. I imagine you were a bit older when you played them.
My first Zelda ever was Wind Waker, and I mean the thing is I was still like 7 or 8. Like that game came out in like 2002.
Well, so like, I played these games when they came out. Like I played the original Zelda, then I played Ocarina. I played Link to the Past, then I played Ocarina, then I played Majora, then I played Oracle Ages and Seasons. Like I played like all of them as they were coming out, which I think helped with my enjoyment of them a little bit more. Because that's all there was. I didn't have anything future to compare to.
I don't know. I feel like I am so primed to love Zelda games, but I just can't get into them. I wish I did. I wish I could like go to Breath of the Wild and be like, that's my favorite game. I spent 150 hours, masterpiece. But instead, I got bored after an hour and never came back. Probably one of my worst gaming purchases to like price to time ratio.
I have so many people tell me that that's their favorite game of all time, Breath of the Wild. And
hey, you have a Switch.
I haven't played it yet. Maybe I'll make you go back to it and we can play that.
We cannot play
days.
a 150-hour game or however long it is on the podcast. That's like, all right, guys, we'll see you in a month. We'll play Breath of the Wild.
I am genuinely considering going back to Psychonauts because I think that's something we would both enjoy. Like
we kind of have to because I mean I hate to say it. Well, not hate to say it. I hate to spoil the surprise, but we are definitely playing Psychonauts 2 when this game comes out on the podcast. We like to do this like little storyline thing, right? We had like, what was it? The Fireman and the Ignition Factor. We played like Earthbound, Mother 1, and well, I think I just like doing that. I don't think you do that at all.
What's funny about last week with Cyberpunk, that was completely like he had already chosen this game for this week, but like I chose Cyberpunk something last week, so it ended up being quite funny of a coincidence.
Yeah, we're so funny, guys. That's I'll add a laugh track and a yay.
We're the funny guys.
We're the funny boys with a Z. There we go. That's why would we call ourselves the Virtual Homework Podcast when
so
we
we're
call
just gonna play
that?
Cyberpunk games for the rest of our lives?
There's probably more than 3. So we could probably finish the whole year. We'll play them till 2077 and then we'll I don't know.
That we'll play 2077. We'll be robots by then.
Yeah, that's cool. This game we played this week was Cyberpunk in that the main character had robot eyes. There we go. Can't deny that.
Why can't you have Cyberpunk eyes like now?
Because Fry's Electronics closed.
I hate Fry's Electronics more than I hate any other business ever. Ever, 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 ever. I hate them so goddamn much.
I'm surprised you have an opinion because we both grew up in the Midwest where I don't think there's any Fry's Electronics.
There's a Fry's near me.
Okay, then never mind. I just didn't grow up near a Fry's Electronics.
Do you care to hear why I hate Fry's?
Well, before we talk about why you hate Fry's, all I know is that I heard people complain for like the past 2 years that like Fry's Electronics went from like a legitimate hardware store to like they just sold like GameStop level knickknacks and like geek shit until they finally just didn't restock their stores and then 6 months later shut down, and everyone's like, really? And it's like, yeah,
so
why?
they didn't stock shit. Their stores were empty for like the longest time. But prior to that, when they had a lot of stuff, Fry's was the place you went to when you wanted to go, and no employee would help you with anything at all whatsoever, ever. And you knew what you were going for and where it was. That was the only reason you would go to Fry's.
Yeah, like
That's
I actually
not why
hate
I
Best
them.
Buy because like I'm just like looking at the DVDs. Stop pestering me.
Yeah, I passionately hate Fry's because I actually go into it a little bit more. Basically, what happened was when Guild Wars 2 was coming out a million years ago, that was a huge, huge release for anyone that played MMOs like me. All my friends were getting it. Everyone I knew was talking about it. Yeah, even you got it. I was
level 20 in Guild Wars 1 like within like a couple months of release. I love Guild Wars 1.
Yeah, I needed the special edition because it came with a dope-ass statue, art book. I always get the special edition for games because I think they're super fucking cool. Just sit on my shelf and then never be touched. So basically, I saw an ad that was like, pre-order the special edition at Fry's. I'm like, oh, Fry's is right across from my work. I'll just go there and get it. So I did. A month in advance, I pre-ordered and paid for it in full. It was like $250 paid for, right? So day of release, I go there, and they're like, we don't know where it is, sorry. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, I paid for it. It's like, I don't know when it's coming, sorry. I'm like, okay, can I speak to a manager? And they're like, yeah, sure, I guess. So then I get it, like, what do you want? I'm like, well, where's my game? I don't know. What do you want? I'm like, well, I paid for it. It's supposed to come out today. Well, it's like, well, we don't have it, so sorry. So I was so pissed. I went to my car. I started calling. I was looking on social media. I ended up getting the personal cell phone by like spending all day on fucking social media and on the internet of the district manager. And I called him, and he was like, yeah, this is completely unacceptable. Did you speak to the manager? He should. I said, the manager I spoke to was a woman. He's like, oh, no, that's not the manager. They lied to you. So I went in there. Again, I'm like, I want to speak to the manager, and she comes up. She's like, what do you want? I'm like, no, I want to speak to the manager. And I said the manager's name, and she's like, ugh.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so then the real manager comes with her, and they're talking catty. As soon as he gets up to me, he's like goes from smiling and laughing. He looks me right in the eye and goes, what do you want? I'm like, I want to know where my game is. We don't have an answer. Next question. I'm like, when's it going to be here? We don't know. Next question. I was like, Jesus Christ. So I just walked out. It turned out they never sent in the order for it. They just took my money. And by then, if anyone knows, if you don't get a special order edition pre-ordered, you're not getting it.
Well,
so I had to cancel it and get my money back, and I will never, ever, 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 ever deal with Fry's ever again.
Well, no one will. So there we go.
Good. I'm glad. Because fuck Downers Grove Fry's. Maybe that was a boring story, but fuck, I hate them so much.
It was, I enjoyed it. I'm looking right now on like eBay to see if there's any Guild Wars 2 special editions.
Well, I did end up getting it. I had to travel to a GameStop in Indiana because someone canceled their order, and I had to drive all the way down there. The box was damaged, but I didn't care because I was opening it.
Well,
and I did end up getting it.
$3 plus $6 shipping on eBay. So
for the special edition with the statue and everything?
Okay, I didn't realize there was a statue. Never mind.
Yeah, it comes with a statue, an art book, like all this other shit. The statue is fucking dope. It's one of the coolest statues ever.
$38.
Whatever. That and the Diablo 3 special edition was fucking dope. I got that one too.
I feel like for some reason I'm a sucker for like buying physical media when it comes to like movies and like music, and I don't know, when it comes to like special editions of like video games, I'm just never into it. Maybe it's because like they don't really fit on my shelf. I mean, I do have these cool BlizzCon figurines that I got last time from going there, and I really like that. So maybe I'm being completely hypocritical.
I very much so like the art books, and I have friends that are like artists and stuff like that, and they like looking at that stuff. So I always like let them see it and stuff, things like that. On top of which, the Diablo special edition came with, it was like a Diablo skull with like this stone that's like in his forehead that comes out, and it's like a USB drive that has Diablo 1, 2, and the expansion on it. It's like a really cool USB drive.
It's like a 1 gigabyte USB drive.
I know it's like 12 gigs.
Really? That I don't think that's a number that they come in, but I guess for some reason I feel like Diablo 3 came out like sooner than it actually did. That game's not that old. at this
The
point.
game is actually super old. That game came out in fucking
PS3, Xbox 360. I'm gonna guess it's 12 years old. I don't remember how many. I don't remember the timeline of USB drives at this point.
Here's a picture of the USB drive. Hold on.
All right, thank you for showing me a picture during this photo-based medium. Oh, that's actually really cool. That's really cool, but looks incredibly inconvenient.
It's not that. It's not that big. It just sits on your counter. So
okay. It's not the full skull. There's a thing that comes out.
Yeah, when I used to play ITG, I used to bring that whole thing with me and like pull it out and be like, put it in the machine.
It's a little too demonic. I don't know if I could really on my religious gaming platform. Not sure if I could really have that anywhere in my background. It's not really acceptable. I'm trying really hard to transition to something I want to talk about. Did you hear about I forget his name. Basically, this Twitch pastor got banned on Twitch because he.
What?
So there's this Twitch pastor that got banned on Twitch. He specifically was trying to his name was Dr. Witnesser, and he basically tried to be the Dr. Disrespect of Christianity on Twitch, which is the really, really funny concept to say. But the issue about his content is that when you're trying to be edgy and religious, turns out there's some edgy religious people out there, and they're called religious extremists. Not that far. He basically got banned because he had a caller that was a Muslim child, and he told him he's going to hell.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's oh, no. That's very oh, no. That's don't do that. I mean, of course, because he got banned. But he is currently trying to sue Twitch for religious discrimination. He is banning them for, millions of dollars, and, he is absolutely righteous in his fight. However, he got dunked on so hard on Twitter. We know about Twitter dunks.
Yeah, he actually deleted this tweet and announced that he is taking a break and deactivating his Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened. You didn't go that far. When you made your political opinion that was very milquetoast but still disagreeable and people called you an idiot, you only deleted the tweets. It would be really funny if you said, you know what, because of the backlash on social media, I'm taking a break. I'm suspending my account in 4 days.
This guy's thumbnails are so funny.
Yeah, I just love, this is the stupidest news ever, and this person deserves to get dunked on, but just the fact that I could say, the Dr. Disrespect of Christianity just makes me really happy, because that's the funniest, stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Dr. Witnesser. Preaching in Call of Duty Warzone, as the bodies flay on the ground, as they drop, as I hit them in the head.
Trying to connect to kids in modern day Christianity, because my understanding is that their acceptance rate is waning or whatever, people getting into it. So maybe they're just trying to extend to the new generation of kids. But it just comes off as really cringy.
Yeah, it's like that episode of King of the Hill when Bobby is listening to Christian rock, and it's the youth pastor with the tattoos. It's just 100% cringe. I mean, I think that there's probably a way to do it. I'm not religious, and I'm not looking to become religious, but there's probably a way to do it that comes off as less cringe. But of all the people to emulate yourself, it could have been worse. It could have been the XQC of Christianity, and he's just I don't even know how that would work. I don't even know how Dr.
It very much cuts off as remember when Hillary Clinton was let's Pokemon go to the polls?
Yeah, I mean, I personally thought that Biden's Animal Crossing Island signs were a legitimately good use of social media.
Yeah. That's actually a good one.
But yeah, I'm not gonna Pokemon Go to anything, because
I'm gonna Pokemon Go take a shit. Hey, buddy.
Yo, is that a fucking good episode or what?
Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you did like it.
All right, here's what you're going to do. 5 stars Apple Podcast. Subscribe on SoundCloud. Go to Spotify, get all your friends, and make them subscribe. Gunpoint. Basically, whatever you can do to make this podcast successful, we don't care what it is. We don't care what the means are. Thanks, gamers.
What he said, but slightly less aggressive and more loving.